and welcome back to Sports the NEMO Way. This is Wade hosting for the first time this evening. We're here to do the Oakland Raiders. We are unfortunately down a couple guys. Alberte and Drusev will not be here. So we got a three-man show, but I think me, Ray, and Uncle Doug can hold the fort down.
Hopefully.
And, the Raiders have been a very interesting franchise with lots of Hall of Famers and championship teams, and we'll have lots of guys to talk about. Nice MVP at the end for you. So I think we can kick her off here. Uncle Doug, who is your quarterback?
I went with the Snake, Kenny Stabler.
I thought long and hard about him because he was awesome back in the day, and he was cool as hell.
Yeah, he was.
I really kind of wanted to go with him, but I ended up picking a different guy.
Well, Snake was Raiders quarterback from 70 through 79. He was in the Hall of Fame, 4-time Pro Bowler, 1-time All-Pro, Super Bowl champion, 1974 MVP, all the Hall of Fame All 70s team. He was also AP Offensive Player of the Year in 74 and 2-time Sporting News Player of the Year. While he was with the Raiders, he threw for, where's my yards? 19,078 yards, 150 TDs. These aren't set up very well. But if you ever saw the Snake play, he was a lot of fun. He liked to sling it around and kind of a gunslinger and didn't really care.
He has one of my favorite football quotes ever. He said he used to read the game plan the night before the game by the light of the jukebox at the bar.
Yep.
Okay.
That
And I believe he was a ladies' man back in the 70s?
Yep. He was.
He was kind of a party animal, and he was quite the fun guy, it seemed like.
So I read a couple old books about Alabama, and when he was there, I guess he was quite the party guy.
Yeah.
And would party and show up still a little maybe hungover and still play great.
Yeah, when I used to binge watch NFL Network, and they would have all these countdowns or, top 10, sometimes they do top 10 players of franchises. And and the Raiders were always a big topic on some of these older stuff, and they had like the countdown of the top 10 Raiders, and he made a couple of the lists they had and stuff, and all the guys that were on his teams would talk about him, and they just thought he was the man.
Yeah.
Kenny Stabler was just that dude. He was cool. He was just a badass. Liked to party, liked the ladies, and could throw a football. But yeah. Well, Ray, who was your quarterback?
My quarterback is Rich Gannon.
That's who I ended up going with too.
All right. He's the one I remember the most. I mean, we got Derek Carr, got Stabler's Doug mentioned, but Rich Gannon is the one I remember the most. So I put him down. But with all that said, we got a pretty nice little stat line. 4-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All-Pro, 2002 MVP. Let's see if I can find the stats. There's lots of stats. Wade, you got them up?
Yeah.
Okay.
With the Raiders, he has 17,000 yards, 114 touchdowns, and 50 INTs. Most of that is in a 4-year period, though. His last 2 years there, I don't know if it was because of injuries or he just got really old or what, but he barely played his last 2 years, so that is mainly in about a 4-year period.
I mean, 17,000 in 4 years is pretty fucking
Yeah.
outstanding.
Because the last 2 years, one year he only plays 7 games, the other one only plays 3. So, well, I just thought he's kind of a cool story because he barely plays I mean, he has a couple years where he gets thrown out there in Minnesota and plays a decent chunk of games, but then he's kind of back to not playing. Like he doesn't start a single game until the fourth year of his career. And then he only starts like 49, 50 games then until he goes to Oakland at 34 years old. And then he randomly just kind of became a really good quarterback in his mid 30s.
Mm-hmm.
And he makes 4 straight Pro Bowls, wins an MVP, takes him to a Super Bowl. Put up some really nice stats for those 4 straight Pro Bowl seasons. First year there, after being a career backup, 3,800 yards, 24 touchdowns, 14 INTs. 3,400 yards, 28 touchdowns to 11 INTs. 3,800 yards, 27 touchdowns to 9 interceptions. And then his MVP season, he leads the league with the 418 completions, leads the league with 4,689 yards, and then 26 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. So yeah, I thought it was a really cool story. He kind of a career backup that just kind of comes out of nowhere in his mid 30s and puts up 4 straight Pro Bowl seasons and an MVP. And took him to a Super Bowl after they had some years of kind of struggling there for a little bit. It was a very veteran-led team, those Raider teams. Rich Gannon was approaching 40. Jerry Rice was approaching 40. Tim Brown, I think, was in his mid 30s. Rod Woodson was on that team in the last couple years of his career. It was very interesting. And of course, that is also the year they don't go to the Super Bowl. It's like the year before that. Of course, they're the team that loses to the famous Brady play, the tuck rule.
Oh, the tuck, yeah.
This is he was the quarterback of the team that lost.
I got screwed.
Yeah, and the tuck they lost in the tuck rule game where Charles Woodson gets a sack fumble on Brady and they don't count it.
Dirty son of a bitch.
The Raiders are kind of an interesting franchise in that Gannon, MVP, Kenny Stabler is an MVP, and Darryl LaMonica, one of their original quarterbacks, won an MVP. They got 3 MVP quarterbacks.
That's crazy.
Did they have Plunkett?
Yep. Jim Plunkett played there for a while.
Did he win a Super Bowl with them?
I believe he did.
I thought he did too. Because I remember was he around Stabler's time? Did they like follow each other?
I think Plunkett probably, yeah. I'm trying to think of when his.
Because I think Plunkett had a random couple years where he was considered a good guy.
He was. He was drafted and went to New England.
I think you're right. And then I think he was kind of a bust at first.
Yes.
And then he randomly comes out of nowhere with the Raiders and has success and wins a Super Bowl.
He played 3 years with the Raiders, 79, 80, and 81. And
he's not lighting the world on fire in those years, but he has a couple.
Well, no, take that back. Well,
it's Oakland, and then it changes.
Yeah, then it became Raiders. Yeah, he played 8 years with them. Sorry.
Yeah, that is weird on Football Reference.
Yeah, he followed Stabler.
Okay, yeah.
So
he has a couple okay seasons.
Oh yeah.
I'm guessing if they won a Super Bowl during that time, I'm guessing they were running the ball. He wasn't like prolific, but he seemed like he had a couple okay seasons. But yeah, he has some rough years in New England there at the beginning.
Yeah.
Leads the league with 22 interceptions one year with only 19 touchdowns, 2,400 yards.
Had a year where his completion percentage was 39%.
Oh, yes, he did.
He only played 5 games that year. I can see why. At 39%.
Well, his second year, he only completed 47% of his passes, went 3-11.
Oh.
Only threw for 2,100 yards, had 8 touchdowns and 25 interceptions.
Wow.
Well, he does end his career with about 30 more interceptions and touchdowns.
Yeah.
He gets a little better with Oakland. He has a couple of decent years, but yeah, those New England years were rough. Yikesies. Well, at least he rebounds and gets a Super Bowl.
Yeah. And he was Super Bowl MVP.
That's crazy. We'll have to look that Super Bowl up when we have a little more time. I'm kind of curious who else was on that team. But anyway, well, I guess we're to me, aren't we?
Yep.
Well, we got our quarterbacks out of the way, so we can start with the old skill position guys. Well, I think you kind of got to start off with old Tim Brown.
I agree.
Um,
Yep, same here.
he's the franchise's all-time leader, I think, in receptions, yards, and touchdowns. Is a Hall of Famer. I believe he has 9 Pro Bowls. Um, somehow only made 2 All-Pros, which is shocking because he's one of the most prolific wide receivers of all time. But 9 Pro Bowls, a couple All-Pros. Um, I don't know if they're first or second team, but yeah. I mean, we're talking about a guy who has over 1,094, so almost 1,100 career receptions. He's only 66 yards away from 15,000 yards and has 100 career receiving touchdowns. I mean, that's and through the 80s and 90s and into the early 2000s. So I feel like he's kind of become underrated. You don't
Yeah,
really
you
hear
don't hear
him.
that much about him for all, I mean, all the stats and stuff he's got.
You don't
Right.
hear about like when people talk about the all-time greatest receivers. You don't really hear his name brought up. But I mean, he's got some nasty seasons. I mean, hang on. He has 9 straight seasons where he has between 1,000 and 1,400 yards every year for 9 straight seasons. Led the league one year with 104 receptions. I mean, yeah, that's a nasty run. Almost 1,200 yards, 1,300, 1,300, 1,100, 1,400, 1,000, 1,300, 1,100, 1,100.
Well, when you're
That's
good, they will pass it to you.
Oh yeah,
and then him and Jerry Rice were holding down the fort during that Super Bowl run with Rich Gannon. The two veterans.
Oh yeah.
Like that year, he had 80 receptions for 930 yards, so almost 1,000 at 36 years old. So yeah, but one of the few all-time great Raiders that doesn't have a Super Bowl, but he made it to one, but didn't quite win. But yeah, he was unanimous, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Well, Uncle Doug is your next guy.
I went with a little older guy. I went with Fred Biletnikoff.
Me too. Ray, do you have him?
I did not.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Fred was played from 65 to 78, whole career with Oakland, or the Raiders. However, he's in the Hall of Fame. 6-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All-Pro, has a Super Bowl championship and an AFL championship, and he was Super Bowl MVP in their win. He has 589 receptions for almost 9,000 yards with 76 TDs, averaged 15.2 yards per catch. He led the league one year with an average of 21.9 yards per catch. One year he led the league in receptions with 61, which today that seems like nothing, but back then they led the league. The went to Florida State, and the current college wide receiver award is called the Biletnikoff Award. It's named after him. He caught everything that if it was within reach, he caught it.
Well, he was Mr. Stickum, wasn't
He also, yes, he and Lester Hayes, who we'll talk about later, I'm sure, loved Stickum.
he? Yes. He was Mr. Stickum.
And Biletnikoff wasn't a big guy, but he caught everything they threw his way. He found ways to get open. And, he was Edelman before Edelman, or maybe Edelman was the new Biletnikoff.
Yeah, there you go.
I was watching a video on him earlier, one of those older NFL Network videos that I used to watch. I kind of watched a couple of them earlier before I came over to refresh my memory. One of the things I said about him, they're like, he was decently tall, but he wasn't huge. He wasn't really incredibly fast. It really was for a wide receiver. He was actually kind of slow. But like Uncle Doug said, he just caught everything in his vicinity, and he just found a way to get open. Like I've read somewhere that him and Raymond Berry are the original great route runners.
Mm-hmm.
They were like kind of what how people have kind of perfected it nowadays. A lot of that kind of started with those guys. Back then sometimes it was just athletes just trying to run by people. and they were one of the few people that actually perfected running routes to get themselves open. And
Yeah. Well, the Raiders, Al Davis was always, he loved the bomb. He loved to throw go routes, fast guys, and send them down the field. But Biletnikoff is what kept that alive.
yeah,
Because when they needed first down, Biletnikoff. Or the tight end, Biletnikoff.
Wow.
They'd run the ball some till they could loosen you up, and then they started unloading it to the speed guy.
well, they're the guy that made Al Davis fall in love with the deep ball. I think we're going to talk about here soon. The did they play at the same time? Him and Branch?
Mm-hmm.
I thought
Yep.
so. Yeah. And you got to remember some of these older guys. Almost 600 receptions and 9,000 yards and 76 touchdowns in the 60s and 70s is like, that's like having 900 receptions and 12 or 13,000 yards in today's NFL.
Yeah, like I said, the 1 year he led the league with 61 catches.
Yeah.
I mean, today that's, yeah.
I mean, I think just a little bit before that, I think Raymond Berry had the all-time records for receptions and yards, and he only had like 9,000 yards and like 600 and some receptions. And
Yeah.
he was the all-time leader at a certain point. So those were amazing stats back in the day, and he's still second all-time on their receiving list. So
Yeah, he was pretty good.
Ray, who is your next guy?
Speaking of Cliff Branch, that's who my next guy is.
Oh, yeah. I got Cliff.
Same here. He was also third on their all-time receiving list.
Yeah. He and Biletnikoff were running buddies.
All right. He is a Hall of Famer, 4-time Pro Bowler, 3 All-Pro, 3 Super Bowl titles. His whole lifetime of 14 years was in Oakland / I'm guessing they moved to LA in the 80s. Okay.
Probably.
Yeah. They bounced around there for a little bit.
Yeah. 8,685 yards with 17.3 yards per reception, which is insane. 67 TDs. Rushing, 6.4 it says. 20 is his longest rushing. I know there's some yards somewhere, but I can never find them. But yeah, that's one of the old guys I decided to put on my list.
He was, well, like me and Uncle Doug were just talking about, Biletnikoff was the route runner, and this was the guy that sprinted down the field and caught and made all the big, huge plays. I mean, he was the original speed guy, I think, that made Al Davis obsessed with it for the rest of his career, was because he had Cliff Branch that helped him win 2 or 3 Super Bowls. And I don't know why he's. It took him a while to get in the Hall of Fame, I think. And I don't remember why. Because, like, I know he's in the Hall of Fame now, but, like, in the videos I was watching, they're older. They're, like, from, I don't know, 12, 13 years ago. And in some of the videos, they talk about how he wasn't in the Hall of Fame yet. So,
Yeah,
I don't know why they made him wait. And some of his numbers are nasty. 1 year he has 46 receptions. 46. For 1,100 yards.
Yeah. I mean, that's
24 yards per catch.
Yeah. Al Davis absolutely loved throwing the deep ball. And if he didn't have a strong arm quarterback and a fast receiver, he was firing somebody.
Yeah.
You know, the general manager was in trouble, the coach was in trouble, somebody was in trouble.
I mean, he averaged over 17 yards per catch for his career. Led the league in yards once, touchdowns twice. Had the longest reception of the season twice. Led the league in yards per game twice.
No, Cliff was good. They were a potent duo.
I mean, 3 Super Bowls. They were doing something right. Those teams were loaded on both sides of the ball, though. Well, I guess it's already back to me, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I do have a couple more older guys, but I'm going to mix it up and throw one of my few younger guys on here. I threw Devontae Adams on.
Okay. I didn't think about him, but that's a good pick.
Well, I mean, he's one of the best wide receivers of this generation. He's going to end up in the Hall of Fame. He's already almost got Hall of Fame numbers, and he's going to play another 4 or 5 years probably.
Yeah, with the Rams.
Yes, going forward with the Rams.
Oh, is he?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, shit.
Let's say pick up some big numbers, I hope.
Well, already in 11 seasons, next year he'll surpass 1,000 receptions. He's already at 957. He's already closing in on 12,000 yards, and he's already got 103 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And he's only 11 years in, so he's amazing. Um, with terrible, terrible quarterback play, he spent 2 seasons with the Raiders, but even with some of the worst quarterback play in the NFL, his first year there, he had 100 receptions for 1,500 yards and led the league with 14 touchdowns. And in 2023, he caught 103 passes for 1,144 yards and 8 touchdowns. So even with terrible quarterbacks in 2 years, he had over 2,600 yards in 2 seasons.
Nice.
And then last year he played 3 games there before he got traded to the Jets, but
Yeah, the black hole of the NFL.
went and teamed up with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Bitchmore.
And even with the shitty Raiders and then going to the shitty Jets, he still got a little over 1,000 yards last year and 8 touchdowns. So, but this year he's got a much better team around him. So I'm guessing those numbers are gonna go back up. So yeah, when I was nearing the end of my list, I figured I had a lot of older guys on there. Figure, well, let's throw a newer age guy on there. He had, even though the Raiders themselves weren't good, he would still put up elite numbers. Made the Pro Bowl. I don't know. I think he made an All-Pro in one of those years. Yes, he made first team All-Pro and a Pro Bowl his first year with the Raider. Led the league in touchdowns one year, 2,600 yards in 2 seasons. I thought he was a good little sneaky pick there.
Yeah.
Uncle Doug, who's your other guy?
Well, I went a little different here. I went with a running back, Marcus Allen.
Same
Yep.
here.
That's a trifecta.
I figured Ray had him. Ray likes his running back.
Yeah, I've still got one to go.
Ooh.
I've got to know what I'm thinking about. So, Marcus played with the Raiders from 82 through 92, and then he went to Kansas City. He's in the Hall of Fame. 6 Pro Bowls, 2 All-Pros, Super Bowl champion, 1985 MVP, Super Bowl MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, a couple different times, Rookie of the Year, rushed for 12,000 yards and 123 TDs. But receiving-wise, he had 587 receptions for 5,400 yards, 9.2 yards per catch, and 21 touchdowns.
He's got to be like top 5 all time in running back receptions and yards. That's pretty huge.
Well, the thing about Marcus was Marcus also blocked.
It's kind of the trifecta.
You didn't have to take him out of the game when you needed to throw the ball deep because Marcus would hit people.
Yeah.
And when Al Davis, there's a whole complicated thing there with Al Davis.
Yes.
Al didn't like any of his players to outshine him. And Marcus was huge.
He was.
And Al Davis wasn't happy about that. So Al Davis brought in another running back. The only problem was that running back started outshining him too. So he got mad at him. But he made Marcus be fullback for this running back. And Marcus did it. And he blasted open holes for him. And quarterback protection. I mean, Marcus was just the guy.
Well, that other running back, I believe, was what, Bo Jackson?
Yes, it was Bo.
Bo Jackson. Imagine, that's quite the backfield.
Yeah.
Why?
Because Bo knows.
That's right. But he don't know diddly.
I was listening to some of the Raider guys on a video, and they were talking about how they felt bad for Allen because, he was one of the top couple running backs in the league, and he was destroying the league. And then Al Davis brings in Jackson, and all of a sudden, in the prime of his career, makes Allen start splitting time.
Yeah.
And they said it really affected Allen mentally, and obviously, lots of people know about the unfriendly back and forth between Davis and Allen throughout parts of their career. And then he ended up leaving and going to the Chiefs, their rival, at the end of his career, and actually scored his 100th career rushing touchdown as a Chief against the Raiders. But if you notice in his career, he starts off really, really nice. And then in the middle of his career, in his prime, some of his prime seasons, his efficiency starts going down, and that's kind of when they make him play fullback for Bo
Yep.
Jackson, and that kind of affected his career because
It did.
he was great. I mean, he literally the year before his carries and games played start going down and his efficiency starts going down. The year before, he led the league with 1,700 rushing yards
Yeah.
and 11 touchdowns, while also catching 67 passes for 555 yards.
Hmm.
The next year, they start making him split time, and they make him do it for 3-4 years straight.
Yeah.
And
Al Davis didn't like anybody being bigger than him.
his efficiency like his yards per carry go down for 3 straight years. And then I'm guessing Bo gets hurt soon after that because his efficiency goes right back up.
Yeah.
And then he starts to age a little later. But then even at the end of his career, his efficiency is decent with the Chiefs. So this is kind
Well,
of sad.
I mean, just to show you the way Al Davis did things, he paid Bo as much money for like half a season as he was paying Marcus for the whole season.
That's crazy.
You know, he would do stuff like that just to try to get under his skin.
Yeah. And even with all that, Marcus Allen is the franchise's all-time leading rusher, and he's their 7th all-time leading receiver.
Yeah. I mean, he was a great athlete. So, yeah, I think Marcus would be perfect at 7-on-7.
I think he would be too. Well, Ray, who was your next guy?
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and go with my other running back,
Okay.
and it's Josh Jacobs.
I like Josh Jacobs, but
Yeah.
I didn't put him on this
I
one.
thought maybe you'd say Bo Jackson.
No,
Bo Jackson would be an interesting person.
Yeah.
but he was there for 5 years. 3 Pro Bowls in that stint, 1 All Pro. 2019 Offensive Rookie of the Year. Pretty impressive stats for a 5-year tenure. 5,545 yards, 46 touchdowns. 4.2 yards average. He's got 1,448 receiving yards with 7.4 yards per reception. He's almost had about at least 1,000 yards per season. His first year as rookie, 1,150, 1065. Dropped off a little with 872, and then blew it out the water in 2022 with 1653. So I mean, he's a multi-talented guy. He's up in Green Bay right now, but
What were his receiving numbers those years?
Let's see, where was I at? 1448.
Not too bad.
Yeah. So I mean, he can do whatever you want him to do. I always liked him. I was kind of sad they sent him up to Green Bay, but I mean, he's blowing it up there too. 1329.
Yeah, he did really good last year.
Yeah.
I think he had quite a few touchdowns.
Let's see, 15 rushing in Green Bay
I mean, that's
and
pretty gnarly.
1 receiving. So yeah.
Well, I think I have one guy left. Who? How many of you guys got left?
I got a couple.
I got 2.
All right. Well, I'll get my last guy out of the way, and then I'll let you guys finish up. My last guy, I threw a tight end on. I have Todd Christensen.
So do I. That's one of my last 2.
A guy who I'm kind of shocked isn't in the Hall of Fame. 5-time Pro Bowler. 2 first-team All-Pros. 2-time Super Bowl champ, just like a lot of these dirty turds on the Raiders. Like I said, 2 first-team All-Pros and 2 second-team All-Pros with the 4 Pro Bowls. Doesn't really play his first couple years. Doesn't start a single game until his 4th season, and then kind of just goes nuts. In a 6-year period, he gets almost all of his numbers, which technically in 10 years he got 461 receptions for 5,800 yards and 41 touchdowns. But like I said, he literally doesn't play for the first few years of his career. Doesn't start a single game, doesn't catch a single pass until his third year.
Oh wow.
And
Yikes.
then even the first year when he still doesn't start a single game, he catches 8 passes for 115 yards. And then the next year he played in 9 games, has 510 yards for 42 receptions. So you're like, all right, that's good. And then in 1983, he goes on a rampage and puts up some of the best receiving numbers in tight end history. In 83, he goes for 92 receptions, which led the entire league, receivers and tight ends, for 1,200 yards and 12 touchdowns. Next year, 80 receptions, 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns. Next year, 82 receptions, 13 yards away from 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns. Next year, in 86, leads the league again with 95 receptions, 1,153 yards, 8 touchdowns. The next year, in 12 games, has 663 yards. And then his career is pretty much over. He plays less than a half a season the next year.
So how big was Todd?
6'3", 230.
Okay. Which at that time was a good sized tight end.
Yes. Yes, it was.
So, yeah, I remember him and just dominating. Like they just couldn't do anything with him.
He really only plays 6 seasons where he actually gets to fully play. And in 2 of those 6 seasons, 1 year he only plays 9 games, the other year he only plays 12. And he still ends up with almost 6,000 yards.
Okay.
In the 80s. We're not talking about nowadays.
Right.
Where they throw the ball 48 times a game. I don't remember any other tight ends in the 80s having 3,000 yard seasons and another one of 987.
Yeah, I mean that's
led the whole league in receptions twice.
right. Tight ends just didn't do that.
1,200 yards, 1,000, just under 1,000, and 1,150 is nuts. In today's NFL, that's prime Travis Kelce numbers. What it is, and that's what he was doing throughout his prime.
Right.
And he's doing this in the 80s. So I just thought he's doing that in the 80s. You put him on 7-on-7 as a big guy, could make a lot of moves. Yeah, good luck. And I had a lot of different receivers, but I didn't really have like a big tight end that could kind of do a lot of that over the middle stuff. So I thought this was my guy. So
Yep, I agree. I had him too.
And that ends my list, guys.
Okay.
All right. Well, I got one other guy. I thought about 2 or 3, but this one guy kind of intrigued me. Older guy. He played for Oakland from 67 to 70. 4 seasons. He played a year in Detroit, 9 games, didn't start any of them, had 2 catches, 21 yards. Nothing. Okay, he hits Oakland. First season, he has 13 catches for 302 yards, 23 yards per catch, 6 touchdowns. Second year in Oakland, 53 catches for 1,137 yards, 21.5 yards per catch, 11 touchdowns, led the league, including a 94-yarder, which led the league. Third year, 47 catches for 1,260 yards, 26.8 yards per catch.
Holy crap.
Led the league, of course, with yards. Led the league in yards per catch. Led the league in TDs with 14. Yeah, just
what's
crazy.
This guy's name?
His name is Warren Wells.
Warren Wells. Okay.
He only plays 5 seasons.
Yeah, and his final year, 43 catches, 935 yards, 21.7 yards per catch, and 11 touchdowns. So 4 years in Oakland, 156 catches, 3,600 yards, 23 yards per catch, and 42 touchdowns.
That's crazy.
It just kind of caught my eye. I'm like, holy crap, what did this guy do?
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
And it just appeared like the Lions drafted him in 64. He came out of Texas Southern. He was drafted by the Lions in the 12th round. So, I mean, way down. I mean, back then they had draft was huge. and Lions didn't do anything with him. And they sent him. Well, see, that was NFL, and then he goes to the AFL with Oakland, and just tears it up.
What happened
Mm-mm.
to him? Why is it such a? I'm trying to find out right now. What?
Yeah, I don't know what happened to him.
Cause that's nuts.
I mean, because yeah, his stats were just crazy.
Yeah, that is insane. I just. What was it? 5 years?
Yeah, 1 year with Detroit, and the other 4 with Oakland. And then after the NFL AFL merger, 70, he played that last year, 70, then he was done. He was 28 years old at that point.
Oh, he was.
And it looked like there was 2 years he was out of football because he went with Detroit in 64, and 65, 66, there's nothing.
The Korea War or
I
something?
got it. Listen to this.
Or be Vietnam, yeah.
Yeah.
Warren Wells' NFL career with the Raiders, which spans 4 seasons, was unfortunately cut short due to legal and personal problems.
Oh.
After 1970 season, Wells was charged with violating probation for a 1969 aggravated assault conviction, which led to a prison sentence. And although he attempted to return in 72, he was no longer in playing shape and his career was over. In 69, Wells was charged with rape and later reduced to aggravated assault. He pleaded guilty and was placed on probation.
That sucks.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, that's just crazy. And I wonder what happened with 65 and 66.
Because that would have been Korean War by that time, right?
Maybe in Vietnam.
Vietnam was in 60?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Vietnam was from the mid 60s through like 70, 71, something like that.
Okay.
Well, I think how things went for him, it sounds like it led to other problems. I guess later, after his comeback failed, he says he struggled with substance abuse and continued to have legal issues after his career, including arrests for robbery and carrying a gun.
Oh.
Come on, man.
Well, once you've been in prison, and
Well, it can affect your life and what you're able to do.
it can.
And you just kind of.
You get a taste of being an athlete and a star, and then you end up in jail. And
Yeah.
That's unfortunate because that was some fucking insane numbers for the 60s.
that was. I'm just like, holy cow.
Yeah, that was nuts.
So, I mean, the whole 4-year career with Oakland, he averaged over 20 yards a catch. That just doesn't happen.
No.
So that's why I put him on there. I thought he was worthwhile talking about.
Okay. I guess I'll go ahead with my last two. I put Jerry Rice on there just because.
I thought about it. He had a couple good seasons there. Helping go to the Super Bowl.
And I won't go through Jerry's stats because we know that motherfucker's a shit. So we'll kind of skip that one. And then the other one I got is Amari Cooper.
That's a good one, too.
Yeah.
He started his career there, I believe.
Yep, 2015. 4 years total. He's got 3,183 yards, 14.1 per reception, 19 touchdowns. I don't know. I always like Amari Cooper. He's always been a consistent receiver. You know, always kind of a go-to guy. He don't really miss a lot of catches. He's always been
he's good.
super consistent. And then that's my list.
So what do we have? 4 unanimous?
1, 2, 3 unanimous.
Oh, 3. Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 total.
We really have that many.
Yeah.
So what we got right now is Stabler, Gannon, Tim Brown, Blitznikov, Branch, Adams, Allen, Jacobs, Christensen, Warren Wells, Jerry Rice, and Amari Cooper.
Okay.
All right.
So the ones that are in are
Brown, Branch, and Allen.
Oh, Todd Christian. I thought Todd Christian was in. Okay.
No, I didn't have him.
Okay.
Brown. What would it take to get Bolitnikoff in, Ray? He's
Um,
their second all-time leading receiver behind Brown.
let's see.
Won a couple of one. Was he the one that had 3 Super Bowls?
I think he had 2 in an AFL championship, maybe.
Okay.
I can take Amari off.
Oh, okay.
Take him off. We'll go
Litnick
Bliss.
off then.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to sort out quarterback first or last here?
I can come over to Gannon. I mean, Gannon, Stabler, LaMonica, they all got MVPs,
Yeah.
you know, and see, Kenny didn't get a Super Bowl, but Gannon did, so I'll come over to Rich Gannon.
Okay.
Okay. That solves that problem.
Okay.
I think this team's gonna be pretty good.
It is. It's
Yeah.
looking pretty sweet. All right. So we got Adam at 1, Jacobs at 1, Christensen at 2, Warren Wells at 1, and then Jerry Rice at 1.
So Adams is at 2. You guys both had Adams?
No, Adams is
No,
a
I was
1.
the only one with
Yeah.
one.
Okay.
And we just need 2 more spots.
So
Okay.
I'm on. So we got 2 spots left. I have Adams, and then
How many
You
how many
got
running backs
Jacobs.
we want here? We just want Allen.
probably just have Allen on this one, just
Okay.
because they have a bunch of other Hall of Famers that we can use at wide receiver and tight
Okay.
end.
Well, then I'll take Jacobs off and I'll go to Christensen.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll
cool.
lock that in.
I didn't realize how much of a badass he was, Christensen.
Yeah.
That was
I know.
nuts.
All right. And then who do you want as the last guy? Adams, Wells, or Rice?
I want to say I'll come off Wells and go to Devontae.
Okay, you guys want to do Devontae?
Yeah, that's cool.
That work?
That works for me.
All right. There we go.
All right. So the offensive list, people, who's listening to this podcast when I post it. Gannon, Tim Brown, Blitznikoff, Branch, Devontae Adams, Allen, and Christensen.
Tell you what, that's tough.
That's pretty nasty.
You got possession, you got size, you got speed. Guys that'll block for each. I mean, it's
And an MVP quarterback throwing the ball.
yeah.
And a
You
bunch
got
of Super
Allen coming out
Bowls.
of the backfield doing stuff.
So
Honestly, with as good as they're going to be on both sides, they might end up being like a top 5 team.
they may be.
They're going to be sneaky good. I think the thing is, they've just sucked for the past like 15, 20 years. So there's like generations of people like Drew's age, where they really haven't been good most of like Drew's life.
Right.
So that's how they think of them. But they were so good back in the
Yes,
day
they were.
that I think a lot of people, I mean, even in my lifetime, they only had a couple stints of being good. So they really haven't even been great in my lifetime.
Well, it just Al Davis would not come off his bomb quarterback to a speedy guy. And so teams just said, okay, we're going to blitz your quarterback, not going to give him time to throw the ball deep, and we're going to put a shutdown corner on your speed guy and shut the offense down.
Yep.
And we didn't even put on Dave Casper, who I think
Right.
is a Hall of Fame tight end.
Yep.
Art Powell was a big deal back in the 60s. Yeah. James Jett, I know that name. I don't know how good he was, but that name just sticks out.
That
to me.
name does sound familiar.
I don't know who he is, but yeah. So we even left off. I know Casper's a Hall of Famer. At least I think he is.
Well, and besides skill players and really good D-backs, which we'll talk about in a minute, they got a bunch of Hall of Fame offensive linemen,
Yeah.
which, that's how you build your team is the offensive line.
Gene Upshaw. There was that white guy that all of you all had in like the Mount Rushmore that I didn't have, and it was a big joke for a while.
Jim Otto.
Yes, Jamato.
Yep.
They've had some really skilled players there that just didn't have long, successful stints just because they wanted to leave because the team wasn't. I mean, Randy Moss was a Raider for a few years.
Yep.
They had Darren McFadden at running back, who was supposed to be this huge deal coming out of, was it Arkansas?
I believe so, yeah.
Which I think he was a good athletic guy, but again, the Raiders weren't very good, so it kind of bogged down his career. But he kind of had a moment in the sun there for a while. There's been other guys. I mean, we honestly could have made a case for Brock Bowers as their tight end. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
he just had the greatest rookie tight end season in NFL history.
Brock Bowers is amazing. And really, I mean, Bo Jackson. If Bo Jackson hadn't gotten hurt,
Yes, Bo Jackson.
no telling what his career would have looked like.
Yeah.
They had a guy named Napoleon McCallum. He tore up college at the Naval Academy of all places. And of course, if you graduate from the Naval Academy, you owe them so many years of service.
Oh, okay.
And see, Roger Staubach for the Cowboys did that. He actually went to Vietnam and then came back and quarterbacked the Cowboys after a couple of years. The Admiral did that. David Robinson in the NBA, they actually excused him. He did some little stuff for the Navy and odds and ends and advertised for him and stuff because of his height. He was supposed to be in a sub.
Yeah, you can't do that.
And he was tall enough. He met the height requirements when he went to the academy, but he shot up like 5 inches, and they made allowances. But anyway, Napoleon McCallum, great running back, and went to the Raiders, drafted him, and they worked out a deal where they stationed him in California at a naval base close to where the Raiders were. And so he trained and tried to do his job and be with the Raiders. He did it for a little while, but it finally got to be too much. And then he got duty and got moved. And, of course, you can't move teams like that. But, yeah, that's another one that could have been. I mean, Napoleon McCallum was good for a while.
Okay.
They're a very interesting franchise.
They are. Al Davis is an interesting guy.
That's for sure. He actually plays a very huge part in the history of football.
He does.
He what was he? Was he like the president of the AFL for a while or something like that?
I believe he was one of the driving forces in it, yeah.
Yeah.
He actually sued the NFL more than once.
Like, you can't tell the story of the history of football without Al Davis.
No.
He plays a huge, huge part of it, especially back in the day. Lots of people just remember some of his nonsense when he was older.
Yeah. Win, baby.
Yeah. But he was a huge football icon for decades. But, well, you guys ready to move on to defense?
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. Ray, you want to start us off this time?
Sure.
Who's your first guy?
I went with Charles Woodson.
Hell
yeah.
yes.
You bet.
He is a Hall of Famer. He had 2 stints in Oakland, totaling 11 years. Let's see here. 27 interceptions total. 2 for touchdown. Let's see. 18 forced fumbles. 12 fumble recoveries. 1 for TD. 8.5 sacks. 753 combo tackles. 9-time Pro Bowler, 3-time All-Pro, Super Bowl champion, All 2000s team, 2009 Defensive Player of the Year, 98 Defensive Rookie of the Year. I mean, that dude was just crazy all over the field. Crazy, amazing defender. When you hear defensive players, that's one name that always comes up.
My big thing, he's like one of my favorite players of all time. My big thing with there's a few other guys that were a little bit better cover corners than him, even though he is one of the greatest cover corners of all time. I think he's the most versatile corner in NFL history. He has all these crazy stats that have never been done before. Like he's the only cornerback ever to have over 1,200 tackles, 20 sacks, and over 60 interceptions. He's like the only corner ever to have 20 sacks and like over 30 forced fumbles. Like for a corner to have 1,200 tackles, 33 forced fumbles, 20 sacks, 62 interceptions, that's nuts.
Oh, yeah.
It's absolutely batshit crazy. And he started his career off in Oakland with 4 straight Pro Bowl seasons, made 3 All-Pros there, 1 first-team All-Pro, 1 Rookie of the Year, like Ray said, and went on a giant run with Green Bay, helped them win a Super Bowl, won Defensive Player of the Year there, and then went back to Oakland and made a Pro Bowl in the very last year of his career at 39 years old.
That's awesome.
He had 75 tackles and 5 interceptions, actually playing safety that year.
Right.
He ended his career playing safety for a couple years with Oakland. Yeah, at 39 years old, 75 tackles, 5 interceptions, forced fumble, 4 fumble recoveries. I don't think I'll be able to do that at 39 years old. Jesus Christ. But yeah, I love Charles Woodson. Well, it's on to me. With my next guy, I have the great Hall of Famer Willie Brown.
Yep, I do too.
Same here.
Oh, yes. Hall of Famer, 9-time Pro Bowler, Super Bowl champ, 1-time AFL champ, All 70s team, 5 first team All Pros, with 2 more second team All Pros. So 7 total All Pros, 9 Pro Bowls. He is flat out one of the greatest corners to ever play football. Ended his career with 54 interceptions. And I believe 39 of his 54 came with the Raiders. Is their all-time leader with 39. And yeah, like I said, we're talking about one of the greatest corners ever. 7 All-Pros, 9 Pro Bowls, Hall of Famer. He is one of the all-time great Raiders, and was there when they first started kicking off their winning ways in the late 60s through the 70s. And yeah. Anyone else have anything to add on Willie?
No.
No, just pretty awesome.
Guess what, Ray? I feel like I have to do this because it's happened so many times.
Okay.
He's a December guy.
You sneaky
Oh, boy.
son of a bitch.
All right. We don't have to keep doing that. All right. Uncle Doug, who's your next guy?
My next guy is Lester Hayes.
Same here.
Yep, I got Lester Hayes.
All right, Mr. Stickum. If you ever saw Lester Hayes play, walk around with his fingers spread out, grass all over his hands because he had so much stickum. Had a big can with a tongue depressor and smeared it on all the time. Made 5 Pro Bowls, an All-Pro, 2 Super Bowl champions. 1980 AP Defensive Player of the Year. All 80s team. Played his whole 10-year career with the Raiders. Had 39 interceptions, including 1 year where he had 13 and led the league.
That's nuts.
Ran 4 of them back for touchdowns.
Also nuts.
Had 7 fumble recoveries. I guess it was 2 All-Pros. 1 first team, 1 second team.
Yeah.
But Lester was just nasty. I mean, he just would lock down whoever he was across the line from. And if the ball got close, he was going to hang on to it. He had enough stickum that.
I'm shocked he's not in the Hall.
I am too. I really thought he would be.
He has kind of a shorter career, but it's extremely productive.
Yeah, and he's on the All 80s Hall of Fame team. Why would he not be in the Hall?
He plays 10 years, makes 5 Pro Bowls, 2 All-Pros, 1's the first team, has a Defensive Player of the Year, and helps win 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Maybe they just got tired of putting Raiders defensive backs in.
I guess, but yeah, I didn't understand that.
Because, yeah. Well, he would have slightly crossed over with Willie Brown, and then he's there at the same time as another guy that's going to come up, I think. Because there's some of them that play at the same time with each other.
Right. Oh, yeah, they had some awesome secondaries.
And they also had a couple of nasty safeties that might get brought up that were there, too. I don't know how he's not in the Hall of Fame. That's kind of shocking, actually.
Yeah.
He's actually tied with Willie Brown for the franchise lead at 39.
Yeah.
But Ray, who's your next guy?
Very similar to the last guy's last name, Mike Haynes.
Yes.
I have Mike as well.
Another all-time great defensive back.
Well, unlike the other guy, this is the guy that's in the Hall of Fame. 9-time Pro Bowler, 2 All-Pro, one Super Bowl championship, all 80s team, defensive rookie of the year, and he's got 2 rookie of the year from SN and UPI. Played 7 years in Raider country, 18 interceptions, 1 for a touchdown, 1 fumble recovery, 1 sack, and no tackle numbers.
Yeah, it sucks. I mean, he played throughout the whole decade of the 80s.
Yeah.
So you think they might have some, but he had the 2 first team All Pros. He has 6 second team All Pros.
Oh, wow.
So he actually has 8 All Pros with 9 Pro Bowls
Nasty.
and a Super Bowl championship and a Rookie of the Year. So yeah,
Very
I mean,
nice.
he retired his career with 46 interceptions. Unfortunately, he spent half his career with the Patriots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
Fucking
this was
bums.
before we hated the Patriots, Ray, and this was the 70s,
Yeah.
the 80s.
Well, it's grandfathered in.
But yes. Now, he would have been paired up with Lester Hayes, right?
Right. Yep.
They were
that
there
was
at
the other corner.
same time. As I remember people talking about how some people consider them the greatest cornerback duo of all time.
Yeah. You just didn't pass against those 2.
That's nuts to have both those guys at the same time. But yeah, okay. Trying to think how many guys we got right now.
We got 4, all of them's in. We got 3 left.
Okay. Well, another guy from the 70s. He's known as one of the nastiest players in NFL history. He was one of the dirtiest, hardest hitting players ever. Jack Tatum.
Yeah. The assassin.
Yep, got him too.
A 3-time Pro Bowler, Super Bowl champion on the 70s team. Ended his career, which was only played 10 years, but still in those 10 years got 37 interceptions. 10 fumble recoveries. Yeah. Like I said, three Pro Bowls, makes 3 All-Pro teams. Him and Mel Blount were known as the 2 scariest, most physical defensive backs throughout the entire decade of the 70s. They manhandled you.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely put the fear of God in you back in the NFL when that was allowed.
Yeah.
Okay.
You went across the middle against Jack Tatum, he was going to rip your head off.
He was nasty.
He's the guy that hit Daryl Stingley and paralyzed him.
Ooh.
And I mean, Tatum took a lot of heat for it, but in his defense, that's the way they played then.
Right.
Yeah.
The hit that he did on Stingley was not different than a lot of other hits that he or Mel Blount or some of those guys put on receivers going across the middle.
Yeah.
You know, it was an unbelievable hit, but you know, and it just caught Stingley wrong, and that was it. But,
Yeah, it's not like today where everybody's got $1 million contracts. Everybody's out there
Yeah.
grasping for straws, you know.
well, I mean, they hit hard and they went headhunting.
Well, the 70s, I feel like, are known for Steelers and the Raiders. They used to
Yep.
go at it.
Yep.
They were the 2 teams that ruled that era, and they usually met. Was it to go to the Super Bowl?
Yeah, because they're both
Yeah.
AFC teams.
So they would just have these insane battles. And obviously, the Steelers were more successful, but the Raiders have a total of what, 3 or 4 Super Bowls? Now only like 1 or 2 of those came in the 70s, but
Right.
then they went on to the 80s and won a few more, I think, or something like that. But I can't remember all the exact years they did all
Well,
that.
they were in Super Bowl II, I believe,
Were they?
because the first 2 years the Packers beat the Chiefs, and then they beat the Raiders in the first 2 Super Bowls.
Okay, so they won in 77. Yeah, because it's Pittsburgh 75, Pittsburgh 76, Raiders 77, Cowboys 78, and then back to Pittsburgh for 79 and 80, and then Oakland wins again in '81,
Yeah.
and then yeah, quite the quite the interesting time. So it's literally Steelers, Raiders, Cowboys, Steelers, Raiders, and then the Raiders win again in '84. So yeah, '70s going into the '80s was their time.
Mm-hmm.
So we're all unanimous on everyone we've done so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome, guys. Let's not fuck this up.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we're getting down to the end
We're
here.
getting close here.
How many guys has it been? Sorry.
5, got 2 left.
5, 2 left. Okay. Uncle Doug, you were up.
Yep. I have Namde Asamoah.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yes, I didn't mess it up. I wasn't sure I'd get that one.
Well, he was the man for a few years.
Oh, he was. 3 Pro Bowls, 2 All Pros. Played for 11 years, 8 of it in Oakland. Only had 11 interceptions, but I don't know, he just dominated.
I don't think after that 1 year where he broke out and had 8 interceptions, I think the Raiders sucked and they just picked on the other corner not constantly, and people just didn't throw the ball at him.
Yeah, because his interceptions are 0 the first couple years, and then 8, 1, 1, 1, 0, 3, 1, 0.
Yeah.
Had 408 combo tackles, 356 solo, 24 tackles for loss, a couple quarterback hits, a couple of sacks. He was just a lockdown corner there for a while.
Well, in a 5-year period, he makes 4 All-Pro teams,
Yeah.
2 first team, 2 second team. He was like the premier shutdown corner in the NFL for 5 years. And then he signs a mega contract with Philadelphia, Alex's Eagles, and then he fell apart.
Yeah.
And I think he actually kind of sucked for the Eagles, and then his career was over a couple years later.
Well, didn't the Eagles run a different defensive scheme than what he was used to doing?
I think so.
And it just didn't fit him.
Yeah, well, they did that. They've done that with a few, not the Eagles, but that's happened to a few great corners. You remember Norman that used to?
Yes, Josh Norman.
He was amazing for the Panthers, and then he signed a huge contract with the Redskins, and they tried to make him do the opposite of what he did in Carolina. In his career, he was never a Pro Bowler or an All-Pro guy ever again.
Yeah.
Like, I think he actually had a lot of struggles. I don't understand that. If a guy is an All-Pro corner doing man or running a zone scheme, why sign him to an $80 million contract to do the exact opposite?
Yeah, it makes no sense. I mean, some guys can do it, but a lot of them can't. A lot of them,
Yeah.
the scheme, that's where they fit.
And I don't remember if he was a man-to-man guy that got asked to play zone, or if he was a zone guy that got asked to do man-to-man.
Yeah, I don't remember either. It's been too long now.
I think Norman was a zone guy that got asked to do man-to-man, I think.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Or maybe it was the opposite. I don't remember. But it's goofy like that. Because in that 2011, the Eagles went out and signed a fuck ton of guys, and Vince Young called them a super team. And then they ended up like missing the playoffs, I think, or something like that. Because they had Michael Vick out of prison, but it was not his breakout year. I think he had already come out and dominated that. He had that crazy year where he came out of prison and then lit the world on fire for the Eagles. I think it was like the year after that, or 2 years after that, or something. And they signed Vince Young to be Michael Vick's backup, and they signed Asamoah. And then I think they went out and signed a couple other guys too. They might have signed like DeMarco Murray to play running back or something like that. And then they went out. They got like Chip Kelly from college or something like that. And I think they signed a few more guys. And they're supposed to. And then Vince Young called them a super team. And then it all fell
just
apart.
Didn't mesh. Yeah.
I think 2-3 years later, half the players weren't on the team anymore.
Including Chip Kelly.
Yeah.
Chip Kelly was
he
gone.
was gone.
Asamoah was gone. DeMarco Murray was gone. And I don't remember who else they signed, but it was interesting. Now I'm curious. But
Oh my God, I'm kind of nervous to say my last guy.
So we have 6 unanimous. Whoa.
Oh my God, I'm nervous. Okay, yeah, God damn it. All right, so my last guy played in late 60s, early 70s. Two-time Pro Bowler, one-time Super Bowl champion, 1968 AFL Defensive Player of the Year. George Atkinson.
Yep.
I got him.
Yes, we got
Yes.
every single fucking one. Nice.
We got a perfect defensive week.
Holy
guys.
crap.
Yeah, that's crazy.
See, we don't need the other guys.
They would have just messed us up. Messed up our vibe here.
Holy crap, that's wild. All right, so he played 10 years in Oakland, one in Denver. Yeah.
Barely played.
Let's see. 30 interceptions, 2 for touchdown, 13 fumble recoveries, 2 for touchdown, 0 sacks, and then 0 other tackle stats because it's old times. Nicknamed Butch, and he was a defensive back.
Oh yeah.
This is a nasty defense.
Yes, they are.
We've got shutdown corners. We've got safeties that will knock you out.
Like we have like Willie Brown, Charles Woodson, and Mike Haynes are 3 of the greatest cover corners in NFL history.
Yeah, and then Lester Hayes is no slouch.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then you got Tatum covering the middle of the field. Going to be terrifying people. And then I mean, I guess the weak link would be the safety guy we just named, who was a 2-time Pro Bowler.
Yeah,
He's like by far the worst player.
you got 30 interceptions and a couple of Pro
Yeah.
Bowls, and he's the weak link.
Yeah, Awesome was made 4 or 5 All Pros in 5 years. I mean, this is insane.
Yeah, this is very solid team.
Peace out, Patriots.
Honestly, I think both sides of the ball, the Raiders are good.
Yeah.
They
and
might. This could be a top 5 or 6 team. I think.
And I didn't really feel like it was going to pan out like that, but yeah.
And there's even a couple guys who we could have gone with. A couple other guys that we maybe could have gone with that were pretty good. I mean,
Right.
Rod Woodson ended his career in Oakland, and even though he was old, he had an All-Pro season there. Eric Allen, another Hall of Fame defensive back, played three years there at the end of his career, but he didn't make any Pro Bowls or All-Pros there. But yeah, I think we got what, 4 or 5 Hall of Famers, and then the couple guys that aren't Hall of Famers all made.
Yeah.
The one guy made a couple Pro Bowls. Jack Tatum has 3 Pro Bowls and 3 All Pros. Everyone else is in the Hall of Fame. Well, Lester Hayes, I guess, technically isn't, but that is shocking to me that he's not.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
So 4 Hall of Famers and then guys that have like a combined 10 All Pros or something. Or 8 All Pros. So nasty. Well, is there another team with this many shutdown corners?
I don't know.
I mean, the Patriots were really good, but I don't know if they had this many legit all-time great number ones. Who was in Denver? Denver and the Patriots both had really good defenses, but I don't know if they had this many number 1 corners. Yeah, Willie Brown, all-time great Hall of Famer. Charles Woodson, all-time great Hall of Famer. Mike Haynes, and Asamoah.
And Hayes.
And yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Then then the other 2 are both safeties.
Yeah. I mean, we get 5 corners and 2 safeties, and they're all, at one point, one of the best players in the league.
That is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
I don't know. This, dare I say, is this maybe the best defense we've done for 7-on-7?
It may be. This is pretty good.
And their offense is no slouch.
No.
Their offense is actually very good. I think we did a good job, guys.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's going to be a tough team.
I think we did a very good job. All right. Well, do we Oh, do you want to read off all the names?
Oh, yeah.
Read off all the
So
names real quick.
the final tally here for the defensive side: Charles Woodson, Willie Brown, Lester Hayes, uh, Mike Haynes, Jack Tatum, Asamoah, and then George Atkinson.
Yep.
I was gonna try and pronounce Asamoah's first name, and I gave up.
Yeah.
I think it's Namde, but I'm
Namde?
not sure.
It's something weird. Yeah. Well, I think we did a good job, guys,
Yeah.
on both sides. Hey, we had a perfect defensive week.
Who?
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That
Yeah.
is
That's
awesome.
awesome, guys.
That will never happen again. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
Alex is gonna listen to this episode later on when it comes out, and he's gonna be jealous.
You'd be like,
That's
you
right.
motherfuckers
jealous.
cheated. Who you guys?
And I'm sorry, guys, but I did sneak on another one vote on offense.
Yeah.
I'm adding to my
You got
talent.
Devontae in.
Yeah. But anyway, MVP guys.
Yeah. Sounds good.
This one seems to be a close race.
Yeah. Let's say the Raiders had 4. LaMonica in 67, Stabler in 74, Allen in 85, but we chose Rich Gannon in 02 to talk about.
This is kind of an interesting year. Now
Yeah.
I'm looking at it but the MVP vote and the offensive player of the year, there's a lot of, I don't know, we'll get to it. I'll start reading stuff off because there are some guys in the offensive player of the year that weren't in the MVP conversation that I don't know, man. I don't know. Okay, let's see here. You guys ready for me to start naming stuff off?
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah.
Rich Gannon won MVP with 39% of the vote. He led the league in completions with 418, led the league in attempts with 618, led the league in passing yards with 4689, well, that's not right.
Yeah.
It says he led the league in touchdowns.
But he obviously didn't.
No, maybe, but the whole first thing's highlighted.
Yeah.
So something's wrong there. But I know he did lead the league in yards and completions. I looked at that earlier.
Right.
But so he led the league in yards and completions, and he has 26 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. And then he runs for 156 yards and 3 rushing touchdowns. Finishing second is Brett Favre with 31% of the vote. So there's kind of a close voting there. He has 341 completions on 551 attempts, 3,600 yards, 27 interceptions or touchdowns, but 16 interceptions, and ran for 73 yards and no touchdowns. Steve McNair popping up again, that dirty turd, after he robbed Peyton, made Peyton have a co-MVP. Remember that nonsense, right?
Oh, yeah.
All right, Steve McNair finishes third with pretty much 23% of the vote. So we got a 39%, 31%, and a 23%. With 3,300 yards, 22 passing touchdowns to 15 INTs, but he runs for 440 yards and 3 touchdowns. So the rushing numbers are nice. But then in fourth, this is the one that gets me. Derek Brooks, the defensive player, gets fourth. Now, Derek Brooks was an amazing player, so that doesn't really shock me. But when I saw some of the other guys on the offensive player list, I didn't get it. Because his numbers are 88 solo tackles. I think he had a little over 100 total tackles, 1 sack, and 5 interceptions. So not even like the best year of his career.
Yeah.
But this might be, I think this is the year he wins Defensive Player of the Year and they win the Super Bowl. But of course, when they voted for MVP, they wouldn't have won the Super Bowl yet. But this is his Defensive Player of the year, I think. Yeah, but 88 solo tackles. I'm guessing I think he has a little over 100 total tackles, 1 sack, 5 interceptions. Now, Priest Holmes goes for 1,600 yards on the ground, 21 rushing touchdowns with 70 receptions, 672 receiving yards, and 3 more receiving touchdowns to have 24 total touchdowns as a running back.
And who was this?
Holmes.
Yeah.
Holmes. Okay.
And then a very interesting one in 6th place, who also got 2% of the vote, along with Priest Holmes and Derek Brooks, who also got 2%, was Michael Vick, who passed for just a hair under 3,000 yards, 16 touchdowns to 8 interceptions, but runs for 777 yards and 8 rushing touchdowns.
Okay.
But now here's where it gets interesting, Ray. I think you'll like this one. Priest Holmes won the Offensive Player of the Year for those fucking insane stats that I read a few minutes ago. But second place in Offensive Player of the Year is our boy, Marvin Harrison, who set the all-time record for receptions in a season at the time with 143 and 1,700 yards and 11 receptions to go, or 11 touchdowns in his record-setting season on receptions. And then fourth place in Offensive Player of the Year, because Rich Gannon was third, was Ricky Williams, who rushed for 1,800 yards and 16 touchdowns and had another 363 receiving yards and 1 receiving touchdown.
Well, that was a pretty stacked year.
That was. I mean, normally Marvin Harrison, 143 catches is going to be high. Then Ricky Williams, 1,850 yards. Priest Holmes, 16. And 20 sets the touchdown record.
Well,
I mean, this is crazy year.
Ricky Williams has 2,200 yards from scrimmage, over 2,000, and 17 total touchdowns. Marvin breaks the all-time receptions record. And then Priest Holmes, man.
Again, he's got 22, almost 2,300, or close to 2,300 yards.
Yeah. So he's got almost 2,300 yards from scrimmage and 24 total touchdowns.
Yeah.
And then
that's crazy.
When you glance at the Defensive Player of the Year, of course, Derek Brooks wins it with 88 solo tackles, 30 assists. So that brings him to what?
110. Yeah, 110, something like
about
that.
118.
Yeah,
118.
118 tackles, 1 sack, 5 interceptions, but he does have 3 defensive touchdowns. But Jason Taylor has 70 total tackles and 18 and a half sacks.
Yeah.
And Brian Dawkins, Alex's guy, has 95 tackles, 3 sacks, and 2 interceptions. To be honest, if I was going to put a defensive guy on the MVP thing, I might have went with Jason Taylor.
Yeah, 18 and a half sacks at that time was...
And 70 tackles is really nice for a defensive tackle. Now, I think the thing was then, it's a great year by Derek Brooks, and especially when you have 3 defensive touchdowns. But this isn't even close to Derek Brooks' greatest year. I don't think. And then, but he wins Defensive Player of the Year this year because he's leading one of the greatest defenses of all time, who goes on to win the Super Bowl. But you can go a lot of different directions in this. Yes. But I just don't think fourth in the MVP with those numbers by Derek Brooks is kind of... Yeah. I mean, he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He has 8 more. He has 8 other seasons where he has more tackles than he does in this year. Like, I'm not talking by a few tackles. I'm talking 30 or 40 more tackles in a season than this one. He has multiple other seasons where he has more sacks. Yeah. He has a bunch more seasons with more forced fumbles. This is his career high in interceptions. And, of course, the 3 touchdowns are nice. But him being fourth in MVP just threw me for a loop.
Yeah. Well, I really think Gannon had better stats than the other quarterbacks.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with that wholeheartedly.
But Harrison and Priest Holmes
are nasty.
Those are special
Ricky
seasons.
Williams' season is amazing, but I think Priest Holmes' season was so good it kind of cancels him out.
Yes, I think so too. I think
Yeah.
both running backs were great, but I think Priest Holmes had the better season.
Yeah, he gets him.
A little bit more yardage and few more touchdowns.
Yeah, I think he had like 6 more touchdowns, but I think he kind of gives him the edge.
Yeah.
And like you said, a few more total yards, but he has like 30 more receptions too than Ricky
Right.
Williams. But so I think it's Rich Gannon or Priest Holmes, or maybe if you want to go, I probably, as much as I would love to give it to Marvin, I probably wouldn't give him the MVP, but I would maybe give him Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, well, I mean, 1,700 yards, if 11 touchdowns at that time was pretty great.
Yeah.
But when Priest Holmes has got 24,
Yeah.
That's kind of tough. But yeah,
I think I would go Priest Holmes MVP.
I
And
believe so too.
I think I would go Marvin Offensive Player of the Year. Rich
Yeah.
Gannon's season is very nice. His yardage is very, very nice. But Priest Holmes only has 2 less touchdowns than Rich Gannon. And Priest Holmes is a running back. And Priest Holmes, I think this year sets the touchdown record, doesn't he?
I believe that. I think that is the year that he gets it. Yeah, I think so.
So, I mean, a running back only had 2 less touchdowns than Rich Gannon. And while Rich Gannon's yards are very, very nice, part of that is because he leads the league in passing attempts.
Well, isn't his percentage like 67%?
I don't know. I haven't looked.
Because you said it was 418 out of 618.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's like 67%.
Oop, hit the wrong button. No, Rich Gannon had a very nice year. I just think what year is that? Yeah, he throws 67%. Doesn't lead the league though.
Really? Who had it? Manning?
I don't know. 2002. I'm gonna have to look that up.
Because it wouldn't have been Favre.
No.
He's not even close.
Gannon is, but like Uncle Doug said, by far has the best quarterbacking season.
Yeah.
I don't know why the fuck Michael Vick's up there. 2,900 yards and 16 passing touchdowns.
He's there.
With his 700 rushing yards.
Right, yeah. The 700 rushing yards is what
and
gets
8
him
rushing
up there.
touchdowns.
Yeah.
But even when you combine the yards, he's about to where Favre is.
Right,
Yards-wise.
yeah. He's still nowhere near.
And only has 24 total touchdowns. So Favre and Gannon both have more total touchdowns than Vick does. I think I would lean Priest Holmes.
Yeah.
I think I can get on board with that.
Yeah, I would lean Priest Holmes, and then I might give Marvin Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah. I think that's the way to do it.
But yeah. Well, I think we got it all wrapped up, boys. I think we did a pretty damn good job. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Well,
hopefully we'll see you guys back next week.
Yeah. We'll hopefully have the whole crew back for our next football episode. And who is our next team, guys? Anyone know?
We're moving on to the NFC West, but I'm not sure which one is up next.
Well, gosh darn.
Just be ready for the West.
Yeah, we're
That's
doing
right.
the NFC West. You're gonna get one of those turds.
Yeah.
So one of those teams is coming your way. Well, adios.